This guy burns through 2 tons of charcoal every single day.
I've been giving you the worst. Now you wanna stay tonight.
A few steps away, rows of skewers hit the grill, kebab after kebab, with a little salt tossed on before it comes off the fire. This place never really slows down. From there, the story moves to another corner of Tehran, where liver goes straight into pots like these, stirred and cooked until it is ready to serve. Later, it is served on a tray with hot bread placed right on top. Then the mood changes completely, something cold this time, not hot. Inside it, there are something like 27 different herbs and plants, and on top, a sprinkle of dried herbs with a few rose petals. All of it served in these little clay bowls. And in Tehran's summer heat, people line up for this, because on a hot day, it is exactly what you want. There is a weekend market, too, in another part of town, where an older man sits surrounded by old carpets and even older stories. You can learn a lot about a place just by watching how people move through it. Somewhere else, people line up for sirabi, a dish almost everyone here seems to know. Then there is Kalle Pacheh, an old breakfast people have eaten for generations. Brain, scooped out, mashed down, and stirred into the broth until it is something close to a stew. Today, we're heading just outside Tehran to show you one of the biggest and busiest liver kebab spots in Iran. One of the first things that caught my eye here was the charcoal. And I'm not talking about a small amount. This place uses around 2 tons of charcoal every single day. That's almost 2,000 kilos just for one day of cooking. When you think about it, that's kind of crazy for a liver kebab spot. It means these long charcoal grills are almost never off. The charcoal is always being prepared, always being moved around, always being added to the fire, and the food just keeps coming. They prepare the charcoal right here, then move it with shovels and pour it straight into the long charcoal grills. And when you watch it up close, you start to realize something. Everything here works on a huge scale. This is the kitchen behind the restaurant. Every few hours, they prepare everything in big batches right here. Nothing is really sitting around for the next day. Once the food is prepared, it goes straight into the display fridge where customers can see it and choose exactly what they want. And that's one thing I really liked here. Even though the place is huge and super busy, the food is being prepared fresh throughout the day. This is taftoon, a soft Iranian flatbread that's served fresh with kebabs. It's thin, warm, a little chewy, and honestly, it's the kind of bread that makes grilled meat taste even better. And here, they make it with this rotating bread oven. They flatten the dough first, then place it onto the hot surface of the oven. The oven slowly turns, and by the time the bread comes around, it's ready. Because this place is so busy, they don't bake just a few pieces at a time. They make it in huge batches. Every few hours, a cart comes in with more dough because the amount of bread they go through here is seriously a lot. At first, when you hear liver kebab spot, you might think they only serve liver. But the menu here is a lot bigger than that. Of course, liver is the main thing here. But they also serve heart, kidneys, lamb kebabs, chicken wings, mushrooms, sausages, and kobide, which is a juicy Iranian ground meat kebab. Some of these might sound a little unusual if you didn't grow up with this kind of food. But in Iran, this is a very familiar style of eating. People usually don't order just one thing. They get a mix, a few skewers of liver, maybe some heart or kidneys, fresh bread, olives, and doogh, a cold yogurt drink that Iranians love with kebab. And once everything lands on the table, it starts to make sense. It's not just about one skewer. It's about sharing a whole spread of grilled food together. A lot of the items are prepared and placed in these display fridges so customers can actually see what they're ordering. It's very simple. You look, you choose, they take it, and then it goes straight to the grill. And because this place is so busy, the food doesn't really sit there for long. The fridges empty out fast. Then the kitchen prepares more, brings it out again, and the whole cycle keeps going. So even though the place is big, there's this constant movement behind everything. The kitchen, the display fridge, the grill, the tables, everything is connected. What's interesting is this place didn't start like this. From an interview I watched with the founder, Mohammad Abbasi, he said they started from a tiny space around 12 square meters. Just imagine that for a second. A small place, a few long charcoal grills, probably a much simpler setup, and now they have 3 branches across the whole business. More than 100 people work here now. And from what I understood, most of the team is working in this branch because this is where a lot of the crowd comes in. They're even adding more people over time because the number of customers just keeps growing. But the crazy part is, when you walk around, it still doesn't feel like some polished, fancy restaurant. It still feels very local, very busy, very direct. People come in, choose what they want, sit down, eat, talk, and leave. And then another group comes in right after them. Just to give you a quick idea of the prices, most of these skewers are actually under $2. A skewer of liver is around 60 cents. Heart and kidneys are usually somewhere around 70 to 75 cents. Kebab, which is a juicy Iranian ground meat kebab, is about $1.10. Chicken kebab and grilled wings are also around $1.10. And some of the bigger lamb items, like lamb fillet or lamb ribs, are around $1.70. Even doogh, that cold, salty yogurt drink Iranians usually have with kebab, is less than 50 cents here. So when you look at the prices in dollars, it's kind of interesting because people can order a few different things, share them at the table, and still keep the meal pretty affordable.
اجازه بده یه لحظه از زوای فیلم
This style of eating has been around in Iran for a long time. Fresh bread, liver, heart, kidneys, kebabs, doogh. For a lot of Iranians, these are very familiar tastes. Maybe not something you eat every day, but definitely something people know. It has that late night, roadside, family and friends kind of feeling. You come with a few people, order a mix of things, sit together, eat slowly, talk, and just enjoy the moment. And you can find places like this in different parts of Iran. Some are small, some are old, some are hidden in busy streets, some are on the side of the road. But the feeling is usually the same. Fresh bread, grilled food, a little smoke in the air, cold doogh on the table, and people spending time together. And for me, that's why it was worth coming here. Not just to show you what people eat, but to show you a small piece of how people gather around food in Iran.
نه بابا خیال راحت
This place is not in the middle of Tehran. It's not in a fancy neighborhood. It's not somewhere you would randomly walk by. You have to come here on purpose. And still, people come. Families, groups of friends, workers, young people, older people. Especially on Thursdays and Fridays, places like this can get really busy. Because in Iran, food is not just about eating and leaving. A lot of times, it's an excuse to sit together, to talk, to spend time with family, to order a table full of small things and share everything. And that's why a place like this becomes more than just a restaurant. It becomes part of people's routine. There's another bread station on this side where they keep making taftoon nonstop. The bread comes out fresh, one after another, and customers just keep picking it up as the orders move. I'm curious, if you were here, which one would you try first? The liver kebab, the heart, the kidney, or the chengi kebab? Let me know in the comments, because places like this have so many different choices and everyone seems to have their own favorite.
آقا جگر یا دوتا یا بیشتر نزنن آقایه شما همشه چنده؟
So I ordered a mix of different skewers: liver, lamb fat, heart, kidneys, and a few other grilled items people usually get at places like this. And this is kind of the fun part. You don't really order just one thing. You get a mix, put a few pieces on fresh bread, add some onion or sumac if you like, and eat it while it's still hot. With liver, a lot of Iranians like to have a little lamb fat with it. It makes the bite richer, juicier, and honestly, way more flavorful. And for the drink, most people here go with Abdoogh. Abdoogh is a cold Iranian yogurt drink. It's usually made with yogurt, water, salt, and sometimes dried mint. It's a little salty, really refreshing, and it goes especially well with grilled food. Now we're driving through the streets of Tehran, heading to our next stop. And this is one of the things I like about filming food in this city. You don't just move from one restaurant to another. You pass through neighborhoods, traffic, small shops, old streets, new buildings, and every part of the city has its own feeling. This time, we're gonna try something called Jaghool Baghool. It's a very simple, very local street food, usually made with small pieces of meat and organ meats, cooked with onions and spices. For some people, it might sound unusual at first. But in Iran, foods like this are part of that older street food culture. The kind of food people don't always eat every day, but when they see it being cooked fresh on the street, it still pulls them in. So now, let's see how this dish is made. It starts with onions going into the huge cooking pot. Then he adds lamb fat, which slowly melts down and gives the whole dish a richer flavor. It's a very simple beginning, but this is where that street food smell starts to build. Once the onions and lamb fat cook down together, they start to become the base of the dish. That's where a lot of the flavor begins. Then he adds lamb heart. It's cut into small pieces, so it cooks fast and mixes right into the onions and fat. And this is the kind of street food where everything happens in one pan. Nothing fancy, just heat, onions, fat, meat, and constant stirring until the whole thing slowly comes together. After that, he adds the liver. And once the liver goes in, the whole dish starts to change really fast. He keeps stirring everything together so the liver mixes with the onions, the lamb fat, and the heart. At the same time, he pushes the heat a little higher under the pan. After that, he adds the tomatoes. The tomatoes bring a little freshness to the dish, and they also help balance out the richness from the lamb fat and liver. Then comes the seasoning. First, he adds salt, then black pepper, and after that, turmeric. Turmeric is used a lot in Iranian cooking. It gives the food a warmer color, a deeper flavor, and that familiar homemade taste you find in so many Iranian dishes. Now everything starts to look more complete. The meat, the onions, the tomatoes, the spices, all cooking together in that same hot pot. And now, the food is ready. They serve it in these simple, traditional metal trays, which honestly gives the whole thing a very local feeling. And of course, you need fresh bread with a dish like this. So after that, we go to the bakery, where they're making bread fresh in a traditional oven. The bread comes out hot, soft, and slightly smoky, and that's exactly the kind of bread you want with this food.
Jaghool با نون داغ.
When I tried it, I added some fresh lemon first. Just a little squeeze over the top makes the flavor brighter and cuts through the richness of the liver and lamb fat. Then I had it with fresh herbs on the side, and honestly, that combination was really good. Hot bread, fresh lemon, herbs, and this rich street food all together, that's when the whole dish really starts to make sense. This whole tray was about $5.30. A lot of people come here just to eat this dish. The restaurant is called Sultan, and from all the places I've seen in Tehran, this was honestly one of the best versions of Jaghool, Baghool I've tried. It had a really good balance. The liver, the heart, the lamb fat, the tomatoes, the spices, and that fresh lemon on top, everything worked together. And when you eat it with hot bread and fresh herbs, it becomes even better. That's probably why this place has become known for this food.
آقا من کل تهران گشتم فقط اینجا
اینجا کجاست؟
جیرک سلطان.
Come with me, and let's take a little walk through this part of Tehran. I want to show you a really interesting place. This place is called Bagh Ferdoz. It's an old garden and mansion in the north of Tehran, going back to the Qajar era. Today, it's also known because the Cinema Museum of Iran is located here. Inside the museum, you can see things related to the history of Iranian cinema, old photos, posters, movie items, and memories from Iranian films. There are also some small, interesting shops inside this area. You can see handmade crafts, old-style pieces, traditional items, and small things that feel very Iranian. That's why I wanted to show you this place for a few minutes. It's a lovely little spot where you can feel a mix of Tehran's history, art, and everyday life. This long line you see here is for something very simple, Abdoogh Khiar. It's a cold Iranian summer dish, and when the weather gets hot, people really love it. The main ingredient here is cucumber. They cut the cucumbers into small pieces with this machine, so everything moves pretty fast. Then the chopped cucumbers go into these traditional clay bowls. After that, they add raisins, then walnuts, and little by little, this simple summer dish starts to come together. Here you can see this huge clay bowl. Inside, there's ice to keep everything cold because Abdoogh Khiar is supposed to be really refreshing. Those round pieces you see are local butter. And when I talked to him, he told me he adds 27 different herbs to his Abdoogh Khiar. That's what makes his version a little different. It's not just yogurt, cucumber, and water. There's ice, herbs, local butter, and that cold, creamy texture that makes this dish perfect for summer. After that, he adds a few more herbs along with dried rose petals. Then he adds strained yogurt. Then he serves it with dried Yazdi bread on the side. You can break the bread into small pieces and add it yourself. I asked him why he uses strained yogurt. He said because they add ice to the dish, the strained yogurt helps keep it thick and creamy. It also gives the Abdoogh Khiar a stronger, richer aroma. So even though the dish is cold and full of ice, it still keeps that nice yogurt flavor. Abdoogh Khiar is one of those old Iranian summer foods that makes sense the moment you understand the weather. Iran can get really hot in the summer, so people needed something cold, light, and easy to make at home. That's probably why this dish became so popular. It doesn't need fire, it doesn't need heavy cooking, just yogurt, cold water, cucumber, herbs, walnuts, raisins, and dry bread. Simple ingredients, but together they make something cool, filling, and refreshing. This bowl was about $1.70, and honestly, compared to other versions of Abdoogh Khiar I've tried, this one tasted much better. It had more flavor, more texture, and you could really feel all those little details: the cucumber, the herbs, the walnuts, the raisins, the strained yogurt, and that cold, refreshing taste. For a hot day in Tehran, this was exactly the kind of food that makes sense. Stay with me, because now we're heading to Parvaneh Friday Market, one of Tehran's well-known weekend markets. And before you even get inside, you can feel how busy it is. The streets around it are full of people, and everyone seems to be looking for something different. Some come for antiques, some come for handmade crafts, some come for clothes, accessories, old cameras, records, jewelry, or just strange little things you don't usually find in regular shops. But honestly, half of the fun here is just watching the people. You see different styles, different ages, different personalities, and you get a real look at how people in Tehran dress, walk, shop, and spend their weekend. That's what makes this market interesting. It's not just about buying things, it's about the whole atmosphere. One thing I like about this market is that you never really know what you're going to find. Every table has something different. For many people in Tehran, this place is also a little nostalgic. It used to be known as Parvaneh Friday Market, and for years it was held in the old Parvaneh parking lot. Now it has moved to this newer area, but the feeling is still the same. If you're enjoying this video so far, let me know in the comments which part felt the most interesting to you, and tell me what kind of places or foods you'd like to see in future videos. Your comments really help me understand what you enjoy and what I should film next.
گم میشه اینجا. اون چی میشه بذارن اینجا.
Tonight, we came to try another traditional Iranian food. This one is called sarabi. Sarabi is tripe, usually from sheep or cow. Basically, it's part of the animal's stomach that gets cleaned really well, then cooked slowly for a long time until it becomes soft. I'll be honest with you, I had heard about this food before, but I didn't really know it was this popular in Iran, and this was actually my first time trying it. So, in a way, I'm discovering it with you. This bowl is mostly made with sarabi and shirdan, which are different parts of the animal's stomach. They can also add what's known here as white liver, which is actually the lung. Some customers like it that way, and some prefer the dish without it. For many people in Iran, sarabi is one of those old school foods. Some people love it. Some people are not sure about it at first. And I understand that because the idea of eating tripe might sound unusual if you didn't grow up with it. But here, it has its own fans. What was interesting to me is that this place doesn't really serve it in the morning. They usually start around 3 in the afternoon, and people come until late at night, sometimes around 11 or 12. So here, it's more like an afternoon and late night food. People usually eat it hot with bread, lemon, and sometimes a little spice. And one of the breads you see a lot with sarabi is barbari bread. Barbari is one of the most famous breads in Iran. It's thick, soft, a little chewy, and it soaks up the broth really well. It's not fancy food. It's simple, warm, filling, and very local. Honestly, I liked the sarabi and the shirdan more than I expected. The texture was softer than I thought, and with hot bread and lemon, it actually tasted pretty good. But the lung was different for me. I have to be honest, that one wasn't really my favorite. Maybe some people love it, but for me, the sarabi and shirdan were much easier to enjoy. One small thing you see a lot in Tehran, and honestly in many cities across Iran, is fruit sellers on the side of the street. They load fresh fruit into the back of a van, park on a busy corner, and sell it right there. It's simple, but it says a lot about daily life here.
آقا توش موزه. توش موزه. اول موز بوده بعد آلبالو شده.
These sour cherries are about $1.75 for 1 kilo. Here you can see Sangak bread. Sangak is one of the most popular traditional breads in Iran. A lot of people also see it as one of the healthier Iranian breads because it's usually made with whole wheat flour and baked fresh on hot stones. That's actually where the name comes from. Sang means stone in Persian. The bread is thin, long, a little chewy, and it has this really nice toasted flavor from the stones. In Iran, Sangak is especially popular with breakfast, kebab, and foods like Kalle Pacheh. And when you go to a Kalle Pacheh place, Sangak is usually the bread you see with it. It soaks up the broth really well, and when it's hot and fresh, it makes the whole meal taste better. The next morning, we came to try one of Iran's most famous traditional breakfasts. This is called Kalle Pacheh. Kalle means head, and Pacheh means trotters. So yes, this dish is made from the head and feet of the animal, usually slow cooked for hours until everything becomes soft and rich. For many people outside Iran, this might sound unusual at first, and honestly, I understand that. But in Iran, Kalle Pacheh has a very special place. It's not something most people eat every day. It's heavy, rich, and usually more expensive than a normal breakfast. So for many people, it's more like a weekend breakfast, or something they eat once in a while when they really crave it. The process of making Kalle Pacheh actually starts the night before. They don't just cook it quickly in the morning. Usually they start preparing it in the evening, and it slowly cooks overnight. The head and trotters are cleaned really well, then placed into big pots with water. After that, they usually add things like onions, garlic, turmeric, black pepper, cinnamon, and sometimes a few other spices. Then it just needs time. Hours of slow cooking. By the morning, the meat becomes soft, the broth gets rich, and all the flavors come together. That's why people like to eat it early while it's still hot and fresh. It's one of those foods where the whole taste comes from patience. One interesting thing here is the way they prepare and serve the sheep brain. First, the seller takes the cooked brain and places it on a large ladle. Then, using another ladle, he slowly mashes it little by little. The brain is very soft, so as he presses it, it turns into a creamy texture. After that, the customer tears the Sangak bread into small pieces and gives it to the seller. Then the seller pours hot Kalle Pacheh broth over the bread, just enough for the bread to soak up the flavor. After a moment, he drains the extra broth back into the serving dish. Then he adds the mashed sheep brain on top of the soaked bread. After that, he pours a little of that rich yellow broth over it, and finally adds cinnamon. This is one of the traditional ways many people like to eat brain with Kalle Pacheh. Kalle Pacheh is one of those foods that doesn't really have one clear starting point. It comes from a very old way of eating, where people used almost every part of the animal and tried not to waste anything. The head, the feet, the tongue, the brain, the cheek meat, all of it could become food if it was cleaned well and cooked slowly. And that's probably why this dish became part of traditional food culture in Iran. It was rich, filling, and full of energy. For people who worked long hours, especially in the past, a hot bowl of Kalle Pacheh in the morning could keep them full for a long time. Over time, it became more than just food. It became a kind of morning ritual. People would wake up early, go to a small Kalle Pacheh place, sit down with hot Sangak bread, fresh lemon, cinnamon, and that rich broth. And even today, for a lot of Iranians, Kalle Pacheh is not just breakfast. It's a memory, a habit, and one of those old foods that people still talk about with a lot of feeling. As you can see, this place is not very big. The space is small, and it gets crowded really fast. But one interesting thing I noticed is that a big part of their sales seems to happen online. And honestly, online shopping has become a huge part of daily life in Iran. It's not just clothes or electronics anymore. People order food, groceries, fruit, bread, and even very local products through the internet. Of course, you can't really compare the size of Iran's online market with a country like the United States. But inside Iran, it has grown a lot. Even small shops now use Instagram, websites, delivery apps, and messaging apps to sell their products. And whenever the internet slows down or gets cut off, many businesses feel it immediately. That shows how important online business has become here. For a small place like this, selling online is not just extra income anymore. It's a big part of how the business survives and grows.
آشنا پول راحت میتونی ببری گفتم یه لیمو هم براتون بیاره قابلم نداره بفهمونی باقی جمعه اینا
One small thing I noticed here was the bones. After serving the Kalle Pacheh, they were collecting the bones separately in plastic bags. I asked them what they do with the bones, and they told me they don't throw them in the trash. They didn't explain much more than that. But it was interesting to see that even the leftovers are separated and probably used for something else later. In places like this, almost nothing feels completely wasted.
این دو تا پاس رژیمی دیگه چی بود؟ یه دقیقه درشو باز کن
دو تا آقاشلو
اینا اول دو تا زرد گوشت لخت دو تا زرد 5 تا زرد آقای شاهین 101 زلگردی رو یک
بدون بشید
یه زرد سینه برای جمعه
سلامت باشی
دو تا پشت لولو، یه برنامه پشت یه پاچه عمل شدی چرا امروز نمیرسی؟ قرمز نه پاتون رو زمین
همین دستش رو سامون
بزن این ستر کرده آقای میجم وقتی دادی با زمانی میگذر و جلو کرده بده همه
This full plate of Kalle Pacheh for one person cost around $9.30. So this is the broth from Kalle Pacheh. A lot of people like to start with this hot broth first, usually with pieces of fresh Sangak bread inside. The bread soaks up the flavor and becomes soft. Before anything else, I squeeze some fresh lemon over the Kalle Pacheh. The lemon helps cut through the richness and gives the whole dish a brighter flavor. For this video, I ordered a full plate so I could show you the different parts of Kalle Pacheh. There's the tongue, the brain, the trotters, the eye, and the soft meat from the head. Each part has its own texture, and people usually have their favorite one. But one of the most popular parts is definitely the tongue. So here, I took the tongue and cut it in half. It's very soft, rich, and for many Iranians, it's one of the best parts of Kalle Pacheh. Honestly, in some families, people might even argue a little over who gets the tongue. That's how much people like it. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please support us by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And let me know in the comments which part was interesting to you, or what kind of videos you'd like to see next. It really helps us continue making better videos with higher quality, more meaningful stories, and more interesting places to show you. And if you'd like to support the channel even more, you can use the Super Thanks button under the video. Right now, these videos are made without sponsors, so your support really helps us keep going and improve future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.